When Bill died, he had so much dominated the statistical book that I don't think he left this world thinking he left anything on the table. I think my biggest disappointment for Bill is I think he left his value to all of us on the table. I don't think he understood how much he meant to us beyond being a boat driver. You know, retirement had been talked about for Bill at the time. I don't think he would have ever retired. I don't think I remember Fran saying that she didn't think he would retire, but he was hurting. His neck was hurting him. But again, he felt that if he wasn't Bill Muncey, the boat racer, that he was nothing. And I feel bad that he went to his grave not knowing that, God, you could have quit racing anytime, you know? You had so much going for you and so many other things that we loved about you. You know, driving a boat, not that big a deal, but he didn't think of it that way.
Well, first of all, Bill would have remained being a top recruiter for the Navy because he loved that. Bill probably would have stayed on the board of Atlas Van Lines, as he liked that company very much, in O.H. Frisbee. He would have been involved with his racing team, and he would have probably got out of driving, unless they came up with all of this new stuff that would have harnessed him into the boat. He would have been involved musically still, because how much he loved that. And I think that he would have just kept on having a good time, because he loved to have a good time.
I think one of the things that the sport owes him is the people who came into the sport because of him, people who wanted to be involved because of him. I mean, I'm one of them. I would never have been involved in the sport if it hadn't been for Bill. I mean, not because he came out and said, "Yeah, Jim, you need to be involved in the sport." I was just, wow, that there's a guy that I kind of idolized as a kid, and I wanted to be involved in the sport because of him.
I think he would have always been around the sport. He would have never walked away from it. He was very much attached to it, much more so than myself. So I think he would have remained in the sport in some kind of administrative way, maybe even the commissioner. And I think he would have been good at it, because he was very good at bringing sponsorship money in, which is the lifeblood of all racing. And the other thing, I think Edward. I think he loved Edward so much, and he was so close. I think he would have wanted to be healthy and to be around for Edward. And I think that's probably, if you could talk to Bill today, I think that would be his only regret. You know, I don't think dying for dying's sake would have bothered Bill that much, but not being there for Edward or to enjoy Edward, I think would be his biggest regret.
And then I realized over the next few days, even during the funeral, and that he had made me promise that no matter what, if there was an accident, never ever thinking that it would be anything serious, but if he were unconscious, to get that boat to the next race, do whatever it took, get another driver in it, and get it out on the race course, because that was more important to him, you know, the continuity of, you know, and putting on a good race than, you know, him being there or not. So I'd always made him that promise. So I thought more and more about it, and the more people said, you know, what's going to happen to the sport now, I thought, you know, I have to do this for Bill. This is what he wanted. I talked to O.H. Frisbee, chairman of the board of Atlas Van Lines, and he agreed. He said, you're right, Bill always talked about that. So he said, you need to see how Jim Lucero feels then about building a new boat, and we need to talk about a driver. And I said, Chip Hanauer. Bill just really admired Chip Hanauer. He's young, and he just, that's all he thinks about is boat racing. He'd really be good. But I don't know if he can talk, because he's real shy. So I don't know if, if he can do any speaking for Atlas Van Lines, or if he can take over Bill's job. But he said, well, that's okay. We've got to keep a boat out there for Bill. So Jim designed the boat and built the boat, and it was really touch and go whether it would even make it to the first race. Dave Seafelt wanted to go back to Hawaii. He just was really feeling very responsible and just all kinds of feelings about the accident. So he didn't really want to race anymore. So I remember asked Jim Harvey if he would be a part of the new team, if he would be the crew chief.
This boat is a testament, a testimonial, and a testament of everything that he stood for as far as a team player goes. I remember when this boat was built, I remember the dynamics of all of us. I had maybe a little bit to do with it. I can remember a couple of key conversations that Chip's not aware of, that some people had some doubts as to whether he was capable of climbing into the seat. And some people were drawing attention to that, well, he can't do this and he can't do that and he can't negotiate this. And I remember standing up and saying, wait a minute, wait a minute. I raced against Chip Anner many times. And whether he can negotiate a contract has nothing to do with whether he can drive a boat well. And he's a very capable driver, and you should probably look a little deeper. I remember a couple of conversations like that. And I remember Jim Lucero and everybody else involved with the program at the time, just an inspirational epic to make this boat happen as fast as it did. And then to have, just to get it built was one thing. It was just, oh my goodness, how could you do that? And what a great thing that was being accomplished here. It was a desperate effort. Across the industry, people wondered, you know, how's the sport going to go on? Well, this is how we're going to go on. And how's it going to regroup itself? This is how we're going to regroup ourselves. And is this going to cause any stumbling? Hopefully not, so as you notice. And so this boat came into being, and Chip got into it, and a very successful relationship ensued. And as my old man would have wanted it, you know, the sport carried on.
You know, the question gets asked, you know, if Bill were to walk in today, what would his reaction be? And I think the first reaction be is he'd flip me a bunch of crap, and then he would, I would hope, I guess, that he'd be happy, you know, that all worked out, and that especially it worked out so well with him, the Atlas, and the family and myself, that it all kind of stayed in the family. And that was really important to me, and to this day, that was the most magical time of my career, the best time of my career. As far as what's happened in sports since Bill's left, and a lot of his records have been erased, and the one record that still stands is that he has the most overall wins of anybody. And I think if Bill walked in today, he would like to know that. He would be very proud that for, 20 years, that is still held. And I think he would like it to stay that way forever. That just knowing Bill, I think he'd be sad that some of the other records were gone, but as long as he had that one, I think he'd still be happy. And I'd like to think he would be happy that the records that did fall, I would hope that he would be happy that they fell to me.
My brother Dorian is an interior designer here in Seattle. Somebody told me he was one of the top 10 designers in Seattle. And then my brother Kenton works within the motorcycle industry. And my wife Debbie and I have a small marketing company. We specialize in marine motorsports, go figure. And my brother Edward is involved with the gambling establishments in Nevada. And I understand Edward's doing well.
When I think about all the experiences that I've had with Bill, I think that I'm a real lucky guy because I probably was around him more than most of the other people that I know during his good years of boat racing. And I just think that I was real fortunate. When I talk to other people, I get asked every day now, in particular because I'm in the boat business and selling boats, about my racing career, and they always go back, oh yeah, you were back when Bill Muncey and Myra Slovak and Ron Musson were driving, and you know, it's kind of fun for me to be in that era because it's when the boats were noisy and threw a lot of water in the air, and the ground would vibrate when they all went to the first turn together, and it was an era that it seems like the majority of the people remember the most and enjoyed the most.
You know, Bill, the sin is not in losing. The sin is not trying, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're trying.
You've told me that before, and we're going to keep on trying.
Bill Shoemaker, the driver of the Park Cabover.
People like heroes, you know, and I think Bill is a hero. You know, I don't think he viewed himself as that, but he really was. And not just as a boat driver, as a human being.
the Thriftway from out of the back. As she times it up perfectly, let's see if she jumps the gun. Here comes tail 5.
On the outside is Muncey, Notre Dame, Muncey, Notre Dame, Muncey, 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 Muncey!
But on the outside, it is Bill Muncey. And Muncey is gone, and the circus circus with a flash of fire. Looks like he might have blown a supercharger. Miss Thriftway is coming out very wide. She'll be over here very close to the official barge. A wide tie's on the inside of her, and Myra Slovak, she's on that inside lane. And here they come, and boy, it's a boat race. Watch them, 5 seconds, there won't be a false start. Here comes Miss Thriftway. There's Miss Wahoo on the inside corner. Here comes Miss Thriftway.
But here comes Muncey. Man, I want to tell you, he is flying. If he can hit that starting line just right, it's going to be way on his way to a victory. He's going to leave everybody else in his rooster tail. And he does. Here he comes. He is flying.
Your first place boat going into the western. Oh, he almost lost her. As we're in the 8th lap of the final heat of the Gold Cup. Your lead boat going into the west turn.
The checkered flag is out for Muncey. Muncey wins it. Muncey wins it. The Budweiser second.
Okay, look at them come, head and head down the chute. On the outside, closest to us is Muncey and Thriftway. And he goes for the lead now.